Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Mothership Audio Podcast. Unfortunately, we could not be joined by Efa today, but that's okay because we have a special guest, Ivana Milijkovic. I did it again. Milijkovič from KOIKOI. Welcome to the show, and thank you for being on.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. It's a real pleasure to be here.
It's been a little bit hectic these days, but we finally managed to get an episode running. So let's kind of start with the questions, and let's start with your earliest experiences in music. What inspired you to get into this world of music and being an artist?
So when I was little, my parents enrolled me in music school and also in folklore, and my grandfather was an ethnomusicologist. So I have kind of always been immersed in this sort of Serbian folk heritage of music, but then soon began to develop sensibility more inclined towards rock and roll, more inclined towards punk music, towards that more aggressive sound. My first major love in music when I was actually a little child was the band Queen, because I just found their music to be so harmonic and so virtuous and beautiful, and they were kind of the bridge that brought me towards more and more extreme music.
Okay, I mean, we all got inspired by Queen, at least to a certain degree, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, for me it was Night at the Opera. That album was just insane. And the whole experimentation they did. But, you know, we all kind of find our groove somehow. And it's kind of interesting that you got into punk music because of Queen.
Yeah, they're absolutely, at the time of their existence, like the counterpoints of punk. In fact, like at the same time you have Queen performing for the Queen, and you would have the Sex Pistols that are making fun and that are mocking the whole spectacular rock and roll aesthetic with heavy face-on attitude and very little musicality and much aggressivity.
Yeah, but it was all about the energy, really. I mean, especially with Sex Pistols and, you know, God Save the Queen, she's not a human being. That was back in the early 70s. That was a big thing to say. So
yeah, absolutely.
So tell us a bit about your journey in music and how you met your other band members in KOIKOI and what kind of drove you and said like, okay, let's make music together for real this time.
It was an absolute surprise for me. They used to play together, Marko, our lead singer and guitarist, and Gizmo, Ivan Pavlović, who is our drummer. They used to play together in a band called Čegerillas. And I knew them vaguely from a couple of concerts and kind of high school music festivals and all of this. But they stopped playing and I lost track of what they were doing. And one night I went to a jam session, just like a, kind of open jam session / party / I don't know, whatever kind of thing. And Marko was there and we started playing together and we had a really good groove going on and connected quite nicely musically. We didn't speak about it much later on, but then maybe a few days later, he sent me a message where he explained to me that they're trying to form a band and that they'd love to chat with me and that I come and play bass, because I was originally playing bass in KOIKOI. And so we met up in a kafana, like a cafe kind of environment, and there we spoke about it. I told them that I would soon be moving and that in spite I would like to play, just because I like to play music, and we can figure out what comes later. And it all started there. And then Emilia finally joined us when I actually moved away, and they had to find a bass player because you can do without like synths or backing vocals or whatever, but you can't really do a rock and roll band and not have bass, or it's much more challenging, not your typical power trio setup, how shall I put it. And that's when we had our completion as like a ensemble. What drove us to make music together is just, I think that it felt right. There were, I think, moments when we were playing and it went easier musically, went easier, or moments where we played where it went less easy. Some songs that we needed to put in the drawer for, I don't know, even a year. We started it and then we hit a wall and we'll just put it away. And in the end, you do something with it, you like revamp it and it functions. But it was, I think, always band is not only about music. It is in a great deal about music, but it's also a really special kind of collective. And you can't really reach this level of ease and of intimacy with everybody. We are less from we're not really like professional musicians, academy musicians, where somebody can give you sheet music and you read it in the spot and then it goes perfectly. We are from underground rock and roll milieu of Belgrade, so it's really important that that collective is strong and that we can push through the difficulties. Sometimes you even doubt yourself when you hit a wall regarding arrangement, when you hit a wall regarding harmony. To have this kind of support and to have this strong structure, I think this is what's made us really realize that this is it and we are the band and we're gonna do everything together.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's even, let's say you're not a virtuoso musician, which a lot of other ground rock bands, my bands aren't, and the people I work with usually aren't. They aren't godlike on the piano and they can't do sheet reading very quickly, or I forgot what it's called, like spot reading. It doesn't even matter. But I think what matters the most, and as you said, it's the chemistry between the members in a band that kind of makes it stand out and give some sort of energy that is not that common in bands, because we all know bands fight all the time, they fall apart, and it's just something that happens. But what I find really interesting is that not only did you find this chemistry with KOIKOI, you're doing something that is very different musically. You mix a lot of genres, you mix krautrock with alternative rock with a little bit of doom metal, just a tiny bit, like this kind of groove metal thing. It's really cool, especially with the song Mississippi, which sounds amazing. So would you kind of want to tell us a bit about that creative process and how you experimented to find that sound that you are currently having now?
Yeah, absolutely. And good thing that you noticed. Our process is, I think, as colorful as our album is. At least we don't have like one fixed way that we always take. You know, like okay, he writes the lyrics, then he comes with the lyrics in band practice, and we think about it, and he says, "Now I want to have this sort of groove," and then we kind of follow along. Sometimes we do that, sometimes we jam, sometimes we have a little tune, like a little theme or a vocal theme or just a feeling, you know? And we just sort of gradually build on that. And there, I think it's also really important, this kind of chemistry, because our sensibility towards music and taste in music, we can all understand each other's musical languages, but they're not really that cohesive in themselves. So finding the right modes to connect them, I think this is what we are mainly focusing on. Point out the specific beauty of all those different musical languages.
That makes perfect sense. I think it's good that people start experimenting with genres and creating something new out of it. And I think with your new album, you've actually done that in a very interesting manner. Honestly, it's very healthy for the underground scene to see that. I feel that a lot of bands kind of fall back to one certain sound and they're like, okay, let's keep doing this because this formula works. While you're kind of going out there, which is really interesting. And honestly, you have been making waves in the underground scene lately. And I also want to ask you, like, how did you decide to publish your music? Like, I've seen you've been on quite a lot of events. You've been to Aga last session, which was really great. So could you tell us more about that? How you find you want to market your music, or how you find ways to get your music out there?
To be truthful, we're more lucky than clever. So Yeah, we have been actually super lucky from the beginning onwards, and really fortunate to have the exactly right people notice us and support us, and support of our surrounding is like the number one factor that we are doing anything and that it's going anywhere. We did know when we were recording the album that we want a publisher for the album, that we don't want to do it DIY, simply because we are all four of us administratively very, very incompetent, uninterested, and it's really, really hard for us to get, like focused. We all each have our own careers as well, which is also a little burden on the band because it just draws out a lot of time and it's not structured time. I'm a freelancer. Ivan is a freelancer as well. Marco is an actor. Emma is the only one with a steady job. So it would be hard for us to have like a coherent vision how to DIY through the process. Anyways, and so when we were recording our album, we were super fortunate that Uroš Milkic, our recording producer, mentioned it to Miran from Moonly Records. And that just started the whole thing, because once you have a publisher behind you, they can really take their time to explain properly what are the correct steps and how you should do them. And if you trust them and that they're good at their job, like Miran is, then it's all going to go uphill and towards the sky, you know?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. And also, we were just as fortunate to meet up with Galeb, who was like Galeb and Sandra, his wife, are really massive support. They gave us conditions for production that are absolutely over the top, and I love them, and I'm eternally grateful for that as well. Now we have support of a PR agency preparing for our next concert, which is coming up in April in Doma Mladina, 16th of April. We are always depending on support. It wasn't a conscious decision. It was just that we would never be able to do this all by ourselves.
Yeah, it's usually like that. And I think people should know that behind every band, there's a lot of support from so many different people, from even your close family, from producers to people who just want to help out. Even just the listeners coming to concerts and giving you that kind of, not just, in a way, just moral support to know, okay, people do listen to us. And it's kind of, people say it doesn't really matter, but I think it does, because deep down it's always nice to know that people care. So.
No, absolutely. Always, like in a theater play, you see what's in front, but you don't see the entire massive machine and the building and the corridors and all the people who are, fixing the light, who are doing this, who are doing that. And of course, the audience. Not even in my wildest dreams would I be thinking that we would be here where we are. With such support, with such love, people who know our lyrics, it's just it's still baffling to me,
And that's kind of the amazing thing. I think it's always baffling to anyone who's in music and they get sort of a positive response like, wow, people actually like this. That's crazy, you know? That's also really good, and I really hope that everyone listening right now will go to your concert. And because it's soon, and we'll also be there for sure, because honestly, you guys are amazing. So moving on to more about you guys, because you have a certain kind of visual aesthetic. It's very gritty but very warm. Did you choose this kind of, how can I say, thriller-ish, darkish, yet kind of warmish ideas about your album and your music and the music videos, or was more like, let's just try something?
I think it was a combination, but maybe first came the intuitive bits, because I feel like we are such people that are tender and soft inside and very deeply emotional and easily affected. Also slightly melancholic, slightly prone to going dark, prone to feelings of aggression as well. And I think that it was just a moment where you recognize this. It is intuitively right. It is easy to write about some things and to channel some feelings, and then you just go for it, and then people recognize that, even maybe not thinking about lyrics, even maybe not thinking about the music, but they recognize it and they just follow along. And there again, we also have support from incredible Bob, who is our incredible special effects and lights master and director of our video for our next single, Krinolina. And him, we had extraordinary support on our first session from scenographer Iva Ilic. Now we had amazing support for our photo shoot from Marina Krivokapic, who is a stylist. And I think that it's just maybe something that is deeply inside our generation or generations. These feelings and this kind of a mix of tenderness and compassion, and also melancholy and anger, that makes it really easy for people to follow this intuitive line that they helped us create this visual identity, which is still in the making. It's still quite colorful, style-wise, quite colorful, but I do feel like has this sort of thread running along.
And that's really cool that again you kind of have a basis that you can take artists to work on and create something. And I was lucky to meet some of the artists that you just mentioned, especially Eva. Eva, if you're listening, hi. We haven't talked in a while. Hope you're doing great. And she's also fantastic what she does. And with this kind of aesthetic and with this kind of inspiration, because all the support must be inspiring for you as well, and of course the establishment that you created, would you say that personally for you, is there a song or section of a song that you personally are really proud of?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, to be honest, the entire album, because I don't listen to it very often, like performing it often enough and hearing it every once in a while, or when you go watch new videos and stuff, like it's a lot of listens coming from yourself already. You know, like we practice at Ivan's parents' family home, and they often play in their garden our album. And sometimes, you know, like you would leave the studio room and sit there and you hear a song and you're like, my god, that actually sounds so good. And you know, like sometimes it can be a little bit overwhelming when you are from the inside, you know, like it's good to, you know, like step outside and listen to your music every once in a while. So I have enormous love for all the songs that we put on the album, and without any false modesty, I'm incredibly proud of them, and I think that they all sound good. I change quite often because the songs are so different in attitude and emotion. It changes quite often what I feel the most. For example, when I'm playing in concerts, sometimes, I don't know, being in a better moods or like lighter moods, I like to perform Krinolina quite a lot. It also gives me a great pleasure that when I see the audience moving and like kind of this organic dance like movement, so that gives me great pleasure. Also our pre-album single from Hali Gali compilation, Bog te ubio, because it's so good for me to play bass. Like I love that instrument to death. Like
Yeah, I know how you feel. So
yeah, yeah. There's nothing quite like it physically when you feel those vibrations, you know, through your stomach, and you are hitting with the pick really hard, and it's a different sensation, like much more bodily than playing the keys.
and especially when you feel that the whole crowd is grooving along with you, because you are, yeah, you kind of feel like you're the thing that people dance to, and you feel not in control, but you feel that power, that kind of link with the audience, and that's one of my favorite things about that certain instrument. So, but speaking of instruments, you're not just playing bass in the band. You've also been playing keyboards and a bit of guitar as well. And would you tell us a bit about how you get your sound, what kind of techniques you use, what kind of VSTs or even pedals? What are your favorite little secrets that you like to use on stage?
Well, I mean, it all starts, I think. I played a little bit through through VSTs and through MIDI setups, but I chose towards more analog solution because it's simply more robust for concerts, and especially when you're not playing a concert, when you're playing a gig, like a club gig, it's super complicated to have your laptop there and with everybody jumping and being drunk and all the stuff that you love actually to happen in a gig. So I went with more analog solutions. Some favorites, easy picks for effects. So basically now with synths, I have two synths. I have Milijkovič and Monologue, both chords. Monologue I use for more bassy sound, more gritty sound. It has really a punch, but it can be a little bit raw just by itself. Also, a really good thing about it is you have really all the controls in front of you, you know? So it's super easy to tweak. It's super customizable. The sound, if the sound is different in the room where you're playing, it's super easy to customize it and to set it up. And then I go from my monologue to a few pedals. At the moment, I'm using Organ Machine by Electroharmonics. I'm using Hall of Fame reverb, like a good reverb, a must-have. And also using combined Fuzzface and Jimi Hendrix wah. This and a volume pedal, I think, is just like you can do practically whatever character of sounds you would like to relatively quickly. Of course, like you can't do the very specific things like, I don't know, phaser or this kind of stuff, but it can give it really different kinds of character, more gritty, more soft, more punchy. So this I found works perfectly well for me. On the other side, I have a Milijkovič, which has more digital setup, and there you have to really set everything up before the concert, and it's more up to the sound person. And recently I discovered another thing, and that is that monitoring, I prefer to play through an amp, and a really good amp. I use Jazz Chorus 77 with two 10 speakers, 10 inch. This is also really, really good, I don't know, advice for anybody playing synth live, I think, to have that at least a little amp, because most monitoring systems are not, they can't push enough so you can hear three vocals and the synth and electronic drum. It's a little bit too much for most monitoring systems in Serbia, less the region. Particularly if you go to Slovenia, you can do whatever you want. I don't know, Serbia, Bosnia, where we play also often, some parts of Croatia, clubs, they can't really afford like a major monitoring system. So it's really good to have like your own setup just so you can hear what you're doing. And also a good amp, you know, it also provides you with some character, especially a little bit of reverb coming from an amp. Like mine has a physical spring reverb in it. And it just rounds up the entire thing. That's one extra step, and it's great.
Yeah, that's actually really good advice. Thank you for that. Also, I think my Korg Minilog is agreeing with everything you just said about Korgs. So yeah, they're fantastic instruments and I really love them, and very affordable. And honestly, for a entry synth, they aren't that entry. They just sound incredible. So yeah, thank you so much for clarifying your secret sound. It's a very analog centered, but a very, very clean, very effective way of doing it. Let's kind of go to a bit more casual talk about basically the regional scene, how you see it. And I would like to ask you, how would you compare the music scenes that you've experienced here in the region? For example, would you say there's a major difference between Serbia, Croatia, and Slovenia and Bosnia? How is it evolving in your eyes?
Okay, so I think there are definitely differences. There is like there are specific traditions, and this is not even like a country related, more like city related. So some cities have like, I don't know, Rijeka has like this massive punk heritage, like a new
Oh.
wave, and there you can always hear that. Um, you can always hear that's, you know, like this band is from niche, like they cannot be from anywhere else but niche, you know.
Yeah.
So there is like a locality and a specific locality, but what I'm really enjoying to witness is that I feel like the bonds of those specific musical centers, I don't know, cities that are musical centers in the region, the bonds are getting stronger and stronger. And, you know, like amazing bands come, like they're no longer anonymous. I don't know, an amazing band coming from Međimurje in Croatia is going to come to Belgrade, like Daliborovo Granje, and the connections are quite strong, and that makes me really happy. And otherwise, I don't know, I feel like regional musical scene, that is how it's supposed to be, I guess. There is this thesis like of the Seventh Republic. I don't know if you've ever heard about this. That's music in Yugoslavia and people who are working in music and are surrounded in it, that they are a specific, like they could be a country of their own, because completely like a cohesive culture, cohesive worldviews, and obviously it helps also that we understand each other when we speak. And so yeah, I think the regional music scene could be called easily a single entity with many different personas, but yeah, I think I see it as a single entity that is growing together and that is all about helping each other out and doing the best we can as a collective.
Yeah, that's a really good observation actually that you said. I think I read somewhere back when I was not doing this. I think it was something along the lines. I'm paraphrasing now, but it was the only time Yugoslavia was actually Yugoslav was when it came to its music, to its modern pop music or alternative. Well, whatever you want to call it back then, it was all kind of this same rock and roll attitude that everyone had from Sarajevo to Zagreb to everywhere. And yeah, it's really nice to see that even now still that unifying factor we have between bands is still growing. And as you said, I also noticed that bands are starting, at least in the region, to kind of look out for each other and just kind of push each other, this to create this supportive system between artists, and it's really nice to see. So since we're already talking about artists and the people you worked with and you have this connection already, do you, I know it's mean to ask this, but do you have some favorites that you would like people to listen to more?
Yeah, sure. How much time you got?
Just go for it.
Okay, so I'm absolutely in love with the band Sen from Zagreb. They are really hypnotic, more than rock and roll, more than pop. They are absolutely out of this world, and I advise everybody to listen to them live. Locally, I absolutely adore Kazorpazorp. I absolutely adore Sitpinker. There is a new band, and this is on the Hush Hush. There is a new band called Ibar, which will record their first album or EP now in the spring. And they are this kind of new mix of like kind of prog rock with a lot of folk elements, a lot of uneven beats, you know, like 7/8, 9/8. Absolutely hypnotic. So I would be on the lookout when this album comes out from the band Iber. Absolutely, like listen to it.
Yeah, we'll link them down in the description below because this actually sounds really cool.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, and also I'm really happy to see that there is a new scene of pop artists, in fact, and especially female pop artists, such as, I don't know, Tom, uh, who I find absolutely great. I think that she grows as a performer with each new song, with each new performance. So it's not even limited only to rock and roll and to underground and our kind of subcultures, but the collective is growing, and that makes me super, super happy.
As you said, it's not just in the alternative rock scene or the punk scene, it's also, as we said, with synth pop and other kinds of great bands. I mean, we've had Tiki Talas on, they're fantastic. We've with bands like Pocket Palma, Phantom, and Nipple People. The scene is really growing in many branches in a good and healthy way, not just well, I don't want to say random pop music, but it's actually very interesting and very intelligent how it's made. So, since you've already had this experience with, again, many artists, you've performed in a lot of places, are there any kind of stories that kind of stand out to you, and would you like to share some of those?
Okay. We did play with Wiesel in Požarevac. That was absolutely crazy. Those people are like electricity, like they are just like so fast and so furious as well. So it was really fun getting drunk with them after our concert, like incredibly funny, all over the place. We had also an amazing time in Tam Tam, which is kind of like a camp for underground rockers and punks, and like a just like seaside resort for all the kooky individuals of the music scene in the region. Absolutely amazing. I'm trying to think of like a specific episode. Also, hospitality. That was crazy because I lent, I don't know, is this the correct word in English? But when you don't eat meat before Easter or before Christmas.
Well, fasting, basically.
Fasting, yeah, fasting, exactly. So I do this, and we were supposed to play in Subotica in Solidgrad, where Anna Maria from the band Strawberries hosted us, and she was absolutely incredible host as always. But I told her a little bit late that I don't eat meat, and she asked her dad, who is like a chef in a restaurant, and she asked him to prepare food for us. And so we came, and there were these lovely grilled trouts with like a garlic sauce and lemon and olive oil and all this stuff. So that's also incredible hospitality stories and just like a lot of fun. I remember the start of our tour last summer. We played the Zelenko, which is kind of like a place in the woods near Mrkonjić Grad in Bosnia. So that's where we're supposed to play our first concert. And we enter Bosnia, and Marco gets a call from Boro, who owns the place. And he's like, Marco, where are you? And Marco says, we just crossed the border and entered Bosnia. And Boro goes, yeah, biga. And we were like, what's happening? He doesn't have equipment. The guy who was supposed to bring equipment did not show up. He got stopped at the border. He has COVID, and he came back. And there's nothing to play on. So we're thinking, okay, how can we bridge through this? We stop in Banja Luka. We call everybody we know in entire Bosnia, and we're like, do you have a PA? Do you have like drums, like a bass drum and a floor tom and like hardware and stuff? Do you have an amp? And we can't find one person that has everything. So we're like, okay, what are we going to do? It doesn't pay off to have 3 different people coming from all the sides of Bosnia to bring like one specific thing each. We're going to have to pay them gas costs something as well. And we don't really have this kind of money. So I don't know, we'll just go there and we'll see what happens. And we go, and there's like a whole bunch of friends. My best friend from Brussels came back to Bosnia. He's from Republika Srpska, and he came back from Brussels, and he brought all his friends, and we're just like sitting there chilling. And in the end, we're supposed to start playing. We still don't have anything, so we all plugged in like our guitars. We had 3 guitars, 2 electric ones and 1 acoustic one that Bora provided, and we just plugged in the amp, and Ivan was playing just the snare drum, sitting on his lap, and and we played, because we can't play most KOIKOI songs like that. We never did that. So we played a bit of KOIKOI, we played a bit of blues standards, we played Daira from Smack like 3 times. Because each time we finish it, the entire kafana goes like, play Daira, like. So yeah, the moral of the story is that when things seem to be not working out as you would want them, just like do the best you can, have fun with it, and just do it. It will work out.
And it did, even with 3 guitars and basically a fifth of a drum set, you still did it. So.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
well, that's just crazy. Oh my God, I just really hope that those experiences don't happen that often. And hopefully it won't happen with the future stuff that's happening for you. So would you tell us a bit what we can expect from KOIKOI and you as well? Any new releases? We know about the concert, so tell us again, when is it? And we'll hopefully see each other there.
So 16th of April, 8 o'clock, Dom Omladine Beograda. We will play our first big solo concert, and we're crazy looking forward to it. We are also expecting new t-shirts. We are expecting vinyls with God's help.
That's the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, I'm seriously psyched about having vinyls. It's like a dream come true. So yeah, we have this big Belgrade concert. Hopefully we will have our next single out and next video out for Krinolina by that time as well. Also, beginning of April, we are playing Mostar, Sarajevo, and Banja Luka. So super happy about that, because we really love Bosnian audience, and we always have a ton of fun there. So yeah, good things to look forward to. Oh, and after that, we are also going on our first tour outside of the region, which is incredibly exciting, to test out our music, to play it for people who do not understand Slavic languages at all. So we will be playing Vienna, Bratislava, and Budapest. We're super psyched about that as well.
Oh, that's incredible. Congratulations, guys. I really hope that you have all the success there that you want to have. And I'm sure you get a bunch of new following in those countries as well. So with that, we should end this episode. And I want to say thank you again, Ivana, for being such an amazing guest and having such amazing thoughts and topics to talk to. And hopefully we'll see you soon.
No, thank you. And sorry if my English was a bit rusty.
No, it was amazing. Don't worry about it at all. And yes, this is the end of the episode. Thank you again, everyone, for listening, and I will see you, and hopefully after, next time. Bye-bye.